Hi, my beautiful mythical creatures. Ace here, he, she, back at you with another chapter of Someone Like You, Chapter 11. Later that night, Izuku was in the middle of processing equipment when he received a text. He was grateful for the distraction. He wasn't finding a lot of options. The only companies he was able to find that didn't sell exclusively to heroes or to the civilians that required the use of equipment for the safety functionality of their quirk was a company called Hatsumi Industry. Izuku hadn't heard of them before and would have to do more digging before he felt comfortable purchasing anything from them. He didn't want to end up associated with a company that did shady deals. There is a company that does that already by the name of Durant. It's funny that they advertise that they have the best equipment, but their cybersecurity was absolutely abysmal. It was already bad enough that Izuku had to purchase his shoes through Durant. The text message was from Ojiro. He made a group chat between Izuku, Asui, Kami Tsu, and himself. He said his uncle would give the okay for the two of them to join Ojiro at the dojo. That was a surprise, actually. Izuku wasn't exactly holding his breath for a positive response. Maybe he didn't tell his uncle that Izuku was quirkless? He knew Ojiro and those with mutation quirks in the generational seemed to have a different outlook on the quirkless population, but Izuku had too many run-ins with people who shouldn't have cared, but did to believe it until he saw it firsthand. He responded with a thumbs up and told them he would be there the next day. Asui, call me Sue. God, he was never going to get used to that. Said she would be there as well. Izuku stood in front of an older-looking dojo the next morning. Unlike many of the more popular dojos that were concentrated with concrete and glass, this one was a remodeled wooden dojo. It had a few sprouts of vines growing up the side, and grunts and yells could be heard coming from inside. Izuku walked in the front door slowly. He was expecting to be kicked out as soon as he walked in, but to his surprise, he wasn't even given a side eye. Everyone was completely engrossed with their movement, controlling their bodies exactly how they wanted to. It was actually quite a mesmerizing sight, almost hypnotizing in a way. Izuku was knocked out of his head when he heard an announcement that class was over. He moved over to stand to the side of the door to allow people to leave. Now that he thought about it, it was only 7:30 in the morning. This might be a class offered to people who whose only free time was early in the morning. He had to admit, even if Ojiro had forgotten to tell his uncle Izuku was quirkless, the fact that he had catered to the working class made Izuku respect him. But maybe that was how everyone was. How even if people are horrible to him, they still do good things. Like, even if a police officer refused to help him because he was quirkless, they arrest villains. Or Inko, she was still a nurse and helps heal people, even if she refuses to do the same for Izuku. But does that make them bad people with a few good traits, or good people with a few bad traits? Because Izuku was not delusional. He knew that if someone hates him for being quirkless, they also hate other people because of the same reason. And after talking to Ojiro and Asu, he knows people hate those with mutations or even villainous quirks just as much. And some people hate all three groups equally. Could those people be called equal opportunity? Equal opportunity discriminations? Izuku's thoughts were interrupted by someone stopping next to him. He turned his head and came eye to eye with Tsuyu. Good morning, Asu. He stopped when she stared straight into his eyes. He awkwardly laughed. I mean, Sue. Good morning, Izuku Ribbit. Izuku blushed. He wasn't used to being called by his first name. Inko barely ever did that anymore. It was always, hey you, nowadays. But it hadn't taken him long to learn that Sue was the type of person to get attached quickly. When she considered you a friend, formalities kind of flew out the window. You guys made it! Izuku heard Ojiro yell as the last of the previous class walked out the door. Ojiro's hair was still wet. He must have been in the class that just finished. Izuku hadn't seen him, but there was a lot of big guys that would have blocked his view. He was followed by an older man that looked quite similar, same dark blonde shaggy hair, but it was long and pulled into a ponytail at the base of his neck. The loose hairs around his forehead were held back by a red headband. Welcome, he said seriously. Wow. Welcome, he said seriously. I don't know how you say welcome seriously. My name is Ojiro Masaki. My name is Ojiro Masaki, but you may call me Sensei. Masashiro says, sorry. Oh, that was a big one. Says you two want to learn how to fight? Izuku and Tsuyu nodded in sync. I know some hand-to-hand, but I haven't actually ever had to use what I have learned. So I want to see how I can do better, Izuku explained. I don't really know much hand-to-hand, Ribbit. All I do right now is just throw myself at my opponent, Sue responded after Izuku. You, Sensei pointed at Sue, are more than welcome to join. We specialize in working with those with mutations and are unable to join other dojos. I will teach you how to fight to the best of your ability. Sensei looked at Izuku. I understand you're quirkless? He not quite asked, more like he said it as a statement, but was maybe still looking for confirmation. That's right, Izuku said. Anyways, Master Shirano, Mashiro says you have been denied entry to every other dojo you've tried. That's correct. And they said it was due to insurance? Yes. Well, I'm sorry to say, kid, the disappointment welled up inside of Izuku. He knew this wasn't going to work. But you've been taken for a fool. What? Izuku asked, confused. He felt like he was sitting on a cliff. The previous disappointment he felt was like an ocean, craning up against the rock face and lapping at his ankles. Insurance companies don't care one way or another if someone quirkless joined a dojo. Joins a dojo. What? Izuku asked, incredulously. Yeah, if someone's quirkless joins a dojo and gets hurt, nothing happens. Insurance companies don't pay the claim because they should have known they were going to get hurt, and even if they try to sue for damages, no judge or court will take the case seriously for the same reason. Izuku was dumbfounded. Then why do they blame the insurance companies? For the same reason they say the same shit to all who have mutations. Anti-discrimination laws. Those laws do not specifically apply to the quirkless population, but let's say someone high in the government had a family member that was diagnosed as quirkless. They have the power to actually sue someone for discriminating against their family member and getting away with it. But if the business claims it is due to insurance, there isn't really much they can do about it, because it is common knowledge that insurance companies don't want to pay for claims that when something could have been prevented. So, if a company doesn't explicitly state they don't want quirkless to be there, and instead blames it on the insurance company, no one can blame them for protecting their business. It's a loophole that adults acknowledge, but no one is actually willing to change. Izuku wasn't exactly surprised. It made sense. But he didn't normally deal with businesses not just outright stating he couldn't be there. That's what all the businesses in his neighborhood do, anyways. And the police in their area never do anything either. So Izuku wasn't aware there was any anti-discrimination laws. But the likelihood of some big shot quirkless kid coming into some small ma and pa shop near where he lived was negatable. No one was going to follow the spirit of the law in that area. Only the latter. Only the letter. That's why he almost always has to take a train stop or two to go shopping. But that means that you would be the perfect addition to this dojo. Izuku found himself mentally taking a step back from the edge of the cliff. What? You have been discriminated against the same way as any student in this dojo. Everyone here knows what it's like to be in your shoes, and I want to help you succeed in whatever you want to do with your life. Izuku smiled wide. Thank you! He bowed low at the waist. One thing to remember, though. Izuku looked at Sensei. Just because the people here have been discriminated against does not mean they won't discriminate against others. But discrimination is taken extremely seriously within these walls. If anyone says anything to you while you are here, you need to report it immediately. It is not tolerated, and they will be dealt with harshly. Yes, sir, Izuku said. Good. Now I want to see how you two fight first. That way I know what it is you have to work on. Sensei motioned for Sue to follow him onto the mat. Sue took off her shoes and followed him to the center of the room. They took their stances and Sensei motioned for Sue to start. She crouched down low and used her long legs to jump at him. She attempted to grapple with him, but he was able to slip out of her hold easily, again and again. She threw herself at him, and he slipped away every time. Sometimes Sensei would motion for Sue to stop. She'd put her hands on. After some time, Sensei motioned for Sue to stop. She put her hands on her knees and breathed harshly. You need to work on your endurance and stamina. Towards the end, you were only being half serious because you were too tired to continue. What sources have you been using to learn to fight so far? I've been watching videos online about how wild frogs fight, Ribbit. I figured it would be the best way for me to fight villains. You're right. That considerably would work best for your physique, and it looks like you were copying the frogs well. But their movements don't work very well on humans. I want to teach you some Jodo. You would be able to use the grappling moves from the wild frogs in a way that would work against other humans. It would also be beneficial for you to learn something along the lines of karate or jiu-jitsu. Yeah, if you look like a frog and fight like a frog, then no one would guess you would have any other methods. And it would be a big surprise for those who aren't able to take you down in your frog jitsu, Izuku said. Yeah, I practice more on martial arts myself. I started with karate, but I branched out to a branch, and I am now practicing my mixed martial arts to make a martial art all my own. Kind of like Gunhead. Sue laughed. You're right, Izuku, Ojiro. I need to have more than one way to fight, Ribbit. Thank you, sir. She said, bowing to Sensei. He nodded his head. Okay, kid, you're next. Izuku removed his shoes and stepped up to take Sue's place on the mat. Sensei motioned for him to start, so he did. He ran forward and attempted to hit Sensei with a right straight. Sensei pulled his fist out of the way, so Izuku followed it up with a left kick. Sensei tried to side dodge, and Izuku continued through his motions. Punch, kick, roundhouse, punch, kick. Izuku wasn't even able to touch him. However, he tried. It was always a block or a dodge. He was beginning to become frustrated. Izuku performed a roundhouse kick, but in his frustration, he didn't notice Sensei drop and swept his feet out from under him. He fell to his side and laid there huffing. Not bad, Sensei said. You have good form and power behind it. What sources have you used to learn to fight so far? I found, Izuku panted, some videos of a underground hero online. He took another breath. I just copied what I saw. Well, that explains what I saw. Because you're copying what you saw in the video and never had a chance to actually spar with anyone, you developed a habit. You always have a right punch followed by a left kick, followed by a roundhouse. You don't really stray from that, so you've become predictable. Not to mention, you almost damn near announced every move you will be making next. You probably broke down the video frame by frame and learned the correct form. Is that right? Izuku nodded, his breath coming back, but he found it hard to speak. By doing that, you learned the perfect form, but you didn't learn how to hide your next move. So we'll work on how to improve and keep your opponents guessing. Izuku finally had enough strength to lift himself from the floor. He returned to stand with Sue and Ojiro. When would the two of you be able to come to classes? It will depend on my parents' schedule, Ribbit. What the heck did I just do there? It would depend on my parents' schedule, Ribbit, Sue said. They work a lot, so I have to take care of my siblings when they are not home, Ribbit. I'll text Ojiro and let him know, if that's okay, Ribbit. That's fine, Ojiro said. What about you, kid? I'm available every Tuesday and Thursday. Damn it. My days. I'm available every Tuesday and Thursday. Okay, I'll see you on Thursday for your first class. Thank you for this opportunity, Ribbit, Izuku and Suyu said in unison. No, it's my pleasure. Just remember, I expect you all to work hard. Yes, sir, the three yelled. Good, he said, with the first smile since they met him. I will turn all of you into heroes in no time. That is the end of Chapter 11. Chapter 12 will be up next. And as always, I'm going to read a bit of chapter 12. Izuku stood in front of a large skyscraper, smoke occasionally billowing out of various windows. And that is the end of this video. Yeah, so I'm actually going to look at some of the tags more, just the relationship one, because there is one, and I am curious when they'll meet. Very curious. Anyhow, until next time, my beautiful mythical creatures, peace out. Stay hydrated and eat donuts. Bye!